Hello, this is Chad Middleton, your vocational expert. We here at Vision Counseling and Vocational Consulting help provide material vocational evidence to help you in your TDIU claim. We're also providing some insight and consultations for people considering applying for Chapter 31 VR&E eligibility, VR&E services at the VA to provide more consultation on giving you the most information to help you become entitled before you go through the entitlement process. Typically, if you go through the entitlement process and they determine that you're not entitled, it's rather difficult getting them to overturn that decision. So it's best that you have as much information as possible before going through the evaluation process, because this is a great program to participate in. Like we said before, VR&E is a program that is centered around employment. Education, for the most part, is used with VR&E to help you get the training skills necessary to find a suitable job. But if you can't get into the program, you will never get into the education. Yes, there are other educational benefits like Chapter 30 GI Bill, Chapter 33 new GI Bill, or the post 9/11 GI Bill. But Voc Rehab, to me, is a lot better because you get up to 48 months of entitlement, as well as you get the assistance of a Voc Rehab counselor to help navigate through the difficulties going to school may face. A lot of veterans are older. You're not 19, 20 years old. You're older. So going to school at an older age can be somewhat challenging. But if you have a Voc Rehab counselor there to assist you along the process, it will be much easier. All right. That's if you have a good counselor like me. But nevertheless, I wanted to give you another video about why you're not entitled for Chapter 31. A couple of examples. Okay. One reason you'll be found not entitled for Chapter 31 is that you're suitably employed. Okay. Suitable employment means that you're working on a job that does not aggravate your service-connected disabilities. Has nothing to do with how much money you make, has nothing to do with the field that you want to be in. If you come into Voc Rehab and you're suitably employed, meaning that your disabilities are not aggravated by your current job, you will not be found entitled. For example, if you have let's say a 20% rating for skin condition, all right? And you're working in an office setting and your skin condition does not affect your ability to work, you're not entitled. If you have obstructive sleep apnea, all right, you got a 50% rating for sleep apnea, and you're working on a job where your CPAP machine or your symptoms from sleep apnea are not affecting you because you have a CPAP machine. The CPAP machine resolves any symptoms that you have for the most part. So if your job is not being affected by your sleep apnea, you will not be found entitled. Now, if you say, oh, yes, my job is, then you have to provide documentation to support your claim that your conditions are being aggravated by your job. Okay? So, one thing you have to present to the Voc Rehab counselor is evidence or proof that you're having problems with your condition. Remember, you have to have an impairment to employment. An impairment means that you have some limitations, you have some disabilities, you have some issues with performing the job that you have. Okay? You have to have an impairment. If you don't have an impairment, you will not be found entitled. All right? Flat foot condition and you're working in a sedentary job, you will not be found entitled, because if you're claiming that your flat feet are stopping you from doing a job that only requires you to stand every now and then it's going to be hard for you to convince a counselor that your flat feet affects your ability to work in that position. Okay, so remember, the voc rehab counselor is trying to get as much information as possible. So as you're filling out those forms and giving them information about your work experience, giving them information about your education and training, giving them information about your disabilities, the counselor is making a decision based on the information that you're sharing with them. Okay, so number one, if you're suitably employed, you will not be found entitled to VR&E services. In other words, they will not let you in, let you become, let you go back to school and be retrained to do something else if you're suitably employed. You might say, well, what about the money that I'm making? Not making a lot of money. Remember, the voc rehab program has nothing to do with money. All right, how much money you're making is whether or not you are suitably employed. Okay, if you're suitably employed, you will not be found entitled to services. That's number one. All right. Number two simply is you don't have an impairment to employment. All right. If you have a vision problem, all right, vision problem. Let's say you're hearing loss, temporary hearing loss, or tinnitus in both ears, and you're 10%, 10%, 20% total, and you have hearing loss, but your hearing loss doesn't really adversely affect you from working, you don't have an impairment to employment. You have to prove how your disabilities provide you an impairment to employment. What are you not able to do because of your hearing loss? All right. What are you not able to do because of your skin condition? What are you not able to do because of your shoulder or your back? Excuse me. So the voc rehab counselor is looking to see if you have an impairment to employment. If you do not have an impairment to employment, you will not be found entitled. A third reason you'll be found not entitled is that your eligibility expired. I believe you have 12 years to utilize the Chapter 31 program. I think it's about 12 years. All right. When your 12 years expires, you're no longer eligible for voc rehab. And I believe your 12 years begins when you get your first disability compensation rating. All right. When you get your first disability compensation rating, your 12 years starts right there and it ends 12 years later. So it's called an eligibility termination date, ETD. When your ETD expires and you are applying for voc rehab, the first thing that they notice is that your eligibility expired. Doesn't mean that you won't get an evaluation, though. They still have to evaluate whether or not you meet criteria. And the only way they can extend your eligibility is if you have a serious employment handicap. Okay? If you have a serious employment handicap, they can give you an extension and allow you to participate outside of your eligibility date. Okay? I know you're going to ask me what a serious employment handicap is, and I'm going to say this. A serious employment handicap means that you have some issues that are serious in nature that really affects your ability to work. Say, for instance, let's see, you're homeless. All right. That's a serious employment handicap. Let's see. What else would be a serious employment handicap? You've been unemployed for a long period of time. You have a criminal history. That's a serious employment handicap, which means that you're going to need a little bit more care. You're going to need a little bit more benefits. You're going to need a little bit more involvement from the voc rehab program to allow you to go to suitable employment. If the counselor determines you have a serious employment handicap, then of course they can extend that. Now let's get something straight. You cannot determine you have a serious employment handicap. The counselor determines if you have a serious employment handicap. So again, you can't go in and say, hey, I want voc rehab. I have a serious employment handicap. Wait a minute. Wait. You cannot do that. All right. The counselor has the discretion and the autonomy to make a decision regarding whether or not you have a serious employment handicap or not. Okay. And if we have to do another video on serious employment handicap, we will. All right. But if your eligibility has expired, you can still apply, but you have to meet criteria for serious employment handicap for them to open up your entitlement and extend you beyond your ETD date. All right. And lastly, and I think this is the last, you will be found not entitled to Chapter 31 if you qualify for suitable employment. All right. You come in, you're fresh release, recently released from active duty. You come into voc rehab. You're hearing about how great the program is, and you go see a counselor, but you already have a bachelor's degree in computer science. You already have a master's degree. You want voc rehab to help you find a job, or you want them to help you get a certification or anything like that. But if the counselor determines you already have training to qualify for a suitable job, they may not find you entitled to Chapter 31 services. All right. The good thing is a counselor may find you entitled just for employment services. All right. Employment services usually occurs after you've completed a period of training. You got a diploma, you got a certificate, you got a degree. Once you finish that, the voc rehab program, this is why I feel like it's so great. The voc rehab program will assist you with finding a job. Okay. Not just any job, a suitable job. The goal of the program is employment. So if you come in with already having a bachelor's degree, already having the education that you need, the voc rehab program can assist you by providing you employment services. So they will deny you going to school if you already have relevant education, but they will approve you for employment services. Okay? So if you qualify for suitable employment, which means that you have the education already to qualify for suitable employment, then the voc rehab program will not find you entitled. So let's recap. Number one, if you'll be found not entitled if you're suitably employed. You'll be found not entitled if you don't have an impairment to employment. You will not be found entitled if your eligibility has expired. And lastly, you will not be found entitled to voc rehab if you're qualified for suitable employment. Okay? All of these decisions are determined by the voc rehab counselor. That will be me. Okay? That will be somebody like me. Let's put it that way. Somebody like me will sit down and listen to you and talk to you and reason with you about why you are or are not eligible for voc rehab services. Hopefully they're eloquent. Hopefully they're skilled in the goals and objectives in voc rehab. But what I want you to do is I want you to be just as educated and skilled. So if you have a situation where you want to discuss with me about your voc rehab claim, or you've been denied and you haven't been given a good reason as to why you've been denied, follow up with us. Do a consultation with us. Just call our office, 803-563-5087. Ask for a consultation and have your information ready to discuss. Also, if you have a pending evaluation appointment, you might want to talk to me prior to that appointment so that you can be educated in talking to that voc rehab counselor and not feeling like they are personally denying you. You will be able to go to that appointment with understanding about how the program works. Okay. Again, call us, schedule a consultation. I hope this video has been good for you, educational, gives you some insight. If you still have some questions, get in contact with our office. And most importantly, if you're scheduled or considering applying for TDIU benefits, call and get on our schedule so that you can have a TDIU consultation. All right. God bless you. Hope all is well with you. We're going to continue to do these VR&E videos because they have been helpful to a few vets. So if you have any questions, give our office a call. If not, use these videos to try to shape your claim for Chapter 31 services. And if you need a consultation, we'll be here to help. God bless you. Have a good day.